Ladies and gentlemen, we have someone joining us as far as Edinburgh in UK. I don't know, she's a wonderful lady. I would like to go ahead and introduce her, but before that, I'd like to have a test to see whether she has connected with us. So, Catherine?
In the meantime, as he's getting ready to bring Catherine, Catherine is here. I would like to I missed out thanking Captain Basin in MSc, and he's been a pillar of support for all that we do. So Captain Basin, a big round of applause. He couldn't make it himself today. And also Captain Debu, he's here. Captain Debu is also a doyen in training, and he's also been a huge support to us. And apart from Captain Debu, we have training principals of FMIRO Kolkata and FMIRO Noida, Captain Surin Narang and Captain Himadri Ray also. Big round of applause to all the training. In fact, I don't think there's been a recent event with so many principals of so many, training institutions from all across India. So privileged to have you with us. And now, Catherine, are you there? Can you hear us from FSM?
Yes, I'm with you. Thank you.
I can see Catherine's presentation. Can Catherine hear us? Catherine, are you there, Catherine?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you, Catherine. We just saw you for a little while, for 1 second or something. But yes, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Catherine. She's a huge personality, and many of you have worked with her very closely. And she's from Ocean Technologies Group, OTG, right from Edinburgh. Catherine, welcome to FSM, and I'm sorry to say that you are really missing out on the beach. As we speak, the beach is right behind the curtains. And next time we want to have your physical presence. I know you're tied up. Next time we want to have your physical presence in Goa. You've got to promise me that. And we have a whole lot of people who've come from all across India to hear you speak, Catherine. So over to you.
Wow, I'm very honoured. Thank you very much, and greetings everybody. I can't tell you how jealous I am that you are in sunny Goa as I look out my window in rainy Edinburgh with the grey skies. So apologies, I cannot be with you in person, but maybe next year. So a very warm thank you to Captain Shukat for the invitation to speak. It's a pleasure to meet you all through the power of technology. So I'm going to share my screen now and ask you a question in just a moment. Can you confirm you can see my screen now? Yeah? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So my question, ladies and gentlemen, is this. If I say the word autonomous to you, what comes to mind? What do you visualize? Perhaps something like this? Or something like this? A self-driving car, an autonomous ship, navigating independently, very futuristic, or maybe not so futuristic. But what do you think about this concept, an autonomous learner? This is not something we hear about much in the industry. We talk about self-study, we talk about continuous professional development, we talk about lifelong learning, but those are all activities. Autonomous learners are your people. And your people are the future of our industry. So it's their skills that matter. I'd like to take a moment this morning or this afternoon with you to look at what autonomous learning means. What is it all about, and why do I think it's important for the sustainability of our industry and future skills? Did you know we all like to learn something? So a couple of facts that you might not know. The origins of this phrase, learner autonomy, originated in 1981. This is not something that I came up with myself. It was a French educator, I believe, and apologies for my accent, his name was Henri Olek, I believe. And he defined learner autonomy as the learner's ability to take charge of his or her own learning. So that concept is about responsibility for self-directed learning. Originally, this was researched and promoted for foreign language training, which was my area. So I first learned about learner autonomy back in 1993, showing my age now, when I was doing postgraduate studies in the learning to become a teacher trainer. So this was something which extended into areas of education and training because it's a very successful and proven concept. Now, learner autonomy is a perfect fit for the maritime industry, in my view, because it can help us to train our global mobile workforce and support continuous professional development of seafarers. The personal qualities that define successful autonomous learners align exactly with the skills that we want of our seafarers today. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Also, successful autonomous learners can use digital tools quite effectively. Again, very important for our industry. So let's look at the current context of shipping. Decarbonisation and the fourth propulsion revolution. These are demanding a huge change for training for new fuel types to ensure that mariners can work safely on board the future vessels that are being built now. The Maritime Just Transition Task Force has estimated up to 800,000 seafarers might require additional training in new fuel systems by 2030. How are we going to achieve this training requirement? We don't have training standards yet. We don't have materials. We don't have resources. We don't have much time. So we will need to do something quite different to upskill all seafarers equally, wherever they are, at scale. Let's also think about other technologies and digitalization that are changing the way that we work. Think, for example, about the interface between the crew on board and superintendents on shore. They have faster communication. They have much more data to manage. They have shared decision-making. They have greater transparency and remote team management. What are the implications for the job, for learning, for training, on shore and at sea? Ladies and gentlemen, were you trained to work digitally? Were you trained in how to manage remote teams when you were studying at Maritime Academy? I work in a business ocean technologies group, which is remote first. That means I work permanently from home, and I'm in front of screens all day, every day, like this, talking to people from all over the world. And the more we do it, the more we realise there are different skills required to manage teams remotely. We're picking up habits along with new technologies, but we haven't yet worked out exactly how to do this most effectively, in my view. So the skill set for seafarers, so the next generation of seafarers, of course, is the same technical skills as we've always had. They always need good knowledge of navigation, engineering and seamanship, but they also need much broader knowledge and skills to use the new technologies and systems and the soft skills to manage teams effectively. This is becoming increasingly recognised in the industry. Now, the words I've picked out in orange here, for me, are very interesting. These were defined by an educationalist who had nothing to do with shipping. His name was Philip Candy, and in 1991, he defined the personal qualities that successful autonomous learners need. And guess what? They overlap exactly with the same soft skills and qualities that we expect today. Critical thinkers, resilient leaders, motivated people, people who are flexible with emotional intelligence, self-aware, time managers, with good communication skills, disciplined problem solvers. So in other words, if we train seafarers in the autonomous learning skills they need, we are also training them in how to become good at their jobs and to become better future leaders. I'll come back to that point more later. So what about the role of traditional training and the trainer? Well, the good news is there will always be a place for trainers. They're essential. We all know the difference that a great teacher can make to our lives, how they can inspire us and set us on a new course. But trainers are quite hard to clone. They're in short supply. And also, they can't know everything. The days of the trainer being the font of all knowledge have pretty much gone because there's so much diverse knowledge and new skills that are required. But they don't have to be the only source of knowledge anymore. Digital learning can free up trainers to play to their strengths and their knowledge areas. Digital learning also broadens the network of subject matter experts. For example, companies are soon going to have to train seafarers in very sensitive areas like sexual assault, harassment, and bullying with the changes that are coming down the line through IMO with STCW, PSSR, among other courses. So you could have an experienced psychologist, subject matter expert, delivering training through digital media and conduct training one-to-one through e-learning, for example, instead of in a traditional group or classroom setting with a trainer who's reading out an unfamiliar topic in a very sensitive situation. So just one example of how digital learning can help and how individual learning can be beneficial. I believe that we need to add an L into MET. MET being maritime, education and training. But where is the learner in this picture? Do we need a new acronym, ladies and gentlemen? Perhaps MELT. I'm not sure that that's great, but something along the lines of maritime education for learning and teaching, I think would help to put the focus onto the importance of the learner. We already have new methodologies. We have interactive group learning, we have blended learning, personalised pathways, which means I don't have to study the same as you. If I know something a little bit different to you, I should jump straight to what I need. We shouldn't have a cookie cutter approach to one-size-fits-all learning and training. Training can be very structured while being independent. People can learn from their mobile phones, on their devices, on the job, at home, on the move, in an airport, or, God forbid, if there's another pandemic, stuck in hotel rooms. A lot of seafarers did learning during the pandemic because they had nothing else to do, quite frankly. If they were stuck on shore, waiting for crew rotations. Peer-to-peer learning, social learning, generative learning. People will find ways to work together. They're already doing it. Seafarers are already connecting on social media, using Facebook, using Instagram, using YouTube to teach each other and to learn, but it's not done very formally. How can we harness this power and engage more? What about content? Content is just a generic way of describing what we use to learn with. It could be traditional workbooks where you write your answers on board a ship and send them in. It could be e-learning. It could be bite-sized learning, adaptive learning, which is tailored to your particular needs. Gamified learning, scenario-based learning, cloud-based learning, virtual reality. We offer all these things within our company. But at the end of the day, these are all just tools. They're tools to enable the learner to learn. If we just dump shiny new tools on our crew and let them get on with it and hope for the best, we're not sure exactly how effective that's going to be. Let's go back to the learner. So you can lead a horse to water with amazing tools and resources. Can you make them drink? Not necessarily. It's all about motivation, the key word here. Now, we often describe or hear motivation described as if it was a fixed personality trait. He's lazy, she's motivated, etc. It's not that simple. Motivation is very heavily influenced by a range of factors. If we leave independent learning to chance without putting a structure in place or without addressing it through our company culture, then we're just depending on the individual to find their own motivation, which can be quite tricky. What will influence motivation? I'm a former trainer and I have seen this, and any of you who have been trainers will recognise these factors as well, but it's worth looking at them. What is the purpose of learning? Is it clear to the individual why they should learn? Make it clear. Give them a reward, give them a goal, give them an outcome so that learning is tangible. What about the affective domain, an academic way of saying the influence of emotion and feelings on learning? If you're learning something, it will make you feel maybe bored, happy, frustrated, curious, excited, etc. What about your individual learners' cognitive skills? The more prior learning they've done, the higher their level of education, or the more they've acquired knowledge, the more likely they will be to be able to solve problems independently and think for themselves. Or maybe they're just natural learners. What about the cognitive load? You can have a fantastically motivated person with great cognitive skills who is simply overwhelmed by new information, by requirements, by regulations, by a busy piece of learning that is cumbersome or overwhelming. This will turn people off. They'll switch off if they feel stressed or saturated mentally. Now, one of the most important areas for me is around metacognitive skills. Simply put, learning how to learn, thinking about thinking, being self-aware and being reflective. Some people do this naturally, but this is a whole skill area that can be trained and is being trained in certain places. Psychological safety, personality, confidence, being able to speak up and say, I don't understand, I'm confused, I'm lost, I need help. This is something very important for learners. And learning can feel quite risky and destabilising sometimes. What about the social context? Some people are very motivated to learn, but they can't because of this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They need to earn money, they need to care for family, they need to provide, and that might prevent them achieving their ambitions. They might not have access to resources, they might not have access to the internet, a stable connection, enough power. They might not be able to replace a broken smartphone. They might only have a smartphone, and maybe the learning isn't optimized for mobile and it's designed for PC. So these access issues can also affect motivation quite severely. What about the scaffolding? That is the quality of information around the learning, the pathways. Do you have a competency management system? Do learners know what to do next? Do they know where to get a mentor? Do they know where to go for community or social learning? So all of this scaffolding, I think, needs to be much clearer in order to help learners succeed. So as we approach the end of the session, I would like to appeal to you as leaders connected or concerned with seafarers and their safety and their well-being. What will you do to improve learner engagement for everyone? We can't just leave it to chance and leave it to individuals to do their very best. Here are some of the things that I think will help seafarers as autonomous learners to wrap up. My number one appeal would actually be to IMO and to national maritime administrations to embrace learning technologies and to think differently about the way that learning is structured. It is very prescriptive at the moment. We have shore-based courses, how-to model courses with prescribed hours and prescribed ways of assessing and certifying. So it's a one-size-fits-all approach that does not yet recognise adaptive learning and different ways of delivering learning and training. What about companies? Companies embracing learning cultures properly, really walking the talk, really showing recognition and value and appreciation of individuals who are going out of their way to do more. How does an individual get to demonstrate that? Where do they log their personal learning and show that they're trying very hard? It's often quite difficult for people to showcase. What about skills training? In primary schools in my country, my kids are learning and have been learning since 5 years old about metacognitive training strategies. They can blow us out of the water. This is an intergenerational gap, ladies and gentlemen. The young ones coming through are armed with learning strategies. Our existing employees will not probably have that level of metacognition and awareness. So this can be trained, and we can introduce this consciously into training programs. What about creative use of peer-to-peer and social learning channels? How can you do that? What about providing more scaffolding and more entry points and more clarity of what learning is available for people? What about keeping trainers up to date, maybe sending them back to sea? And how do you make sure that your learning content is kept updated? Finally, but very importantly, how are you designing learning, if you're doing it yourselves, to make sure that it is really tailored for adult learners and to be effective? Using digital content with UX experts, that is user experience experts, and instructional designers is a good way to ensure that your learning content is fit for purpose and will help the individuals to learn. So I've taken up a lot of your time already. I'm sure you've got a busy schedule ahead. So I'll leave you with a final thought where whatever your rank, whatever your level and seniority in the industry, we're all ultimately individual learners and we work together in a global industry. So if we can look more at how to help individuals learn, together, I believe, we will forge better standards for the future. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Back to you, Captain Shugat. I'm not sure if we've got any questions or comments from the floor. If not, I can talk for a little bit longer about this issue of how metacognition and skills are being developed. But I would like to ask the audience if this is something that they're aware of or if they practice this with their seafarers at all. Please.
Hello. Yeah. So, Catherine, if you can hear me, I will open this to the House for a couple of questions only, and then I would just want to go back to the house. Do you have any questions which you can ask Catherine, so he has the opportunity to answer the questions at your request? Any questions from the audience regarding what she spoke, or maybe autonomous learning, autonomous ships, learning training aids? Anything from the audience? Nothing?
Yes, no problem.
I think the presentation was self-explanatory, Catherine. No questions after that.
Thank you. I'm interested in knowing how companies help seafarers to learn. So if anybody would like to connect with me, I'm always available on email, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and so on. So thank you very much.
So Catherine, from all of us at FSM and on behalf of the audience, a big round of applause to you. Thank you so much for gracing the occasion online. Like I said, we'll be expecting you next year in the physical form in FSM on the beach, Goa, and you will have we don't have the momentum to give you in person right now, but we will have it delivered to your office in UK. The small memento as a gratefulness. Thank you, Catherine. So over and out from all of us.
Thank you.